Our movie begins deep under the sea, in a small town nestled among the coral reefs called Bikini Bottom. In this underwater city, we see a wide variety of sea creatures. We then meet SpongeBob SquarePants, a cheerful sponge who lives in a pineapple house, along with his pet snail Gary, who wakes him up by using his sticky slime. SpongeBob gets up and calls out to his friend, the starfish Patrick. Together, they shout for their other friend, the squid Squidward, who gets annoyed and accidentally slams his window shut on his nose. SpongeBob prepares breakfast for Gary, plays with him, and then heads out for a walk. They enjoy their time in the city, practice surfing underwater, play music, and have a wonderful day together. When they return home, SpongeBob says goodbye to Gary because he's running late for work. Meanwhile, we see Squidward on his way to his job at the Krusty Krab restaurant, where he works with SpongeBob. At first, he seems happy because the place is quiet, but that peace doesn't last as SpongeBob soon arrives full of energy. He rushes into the kitchen and gets his grill ready. At that moment, the restaurant's owner, Mr. Krabs, comes out of his office and tells SpongeBob and Squidward to get ready. SpongeBob takes charge and quickly prepares everything. Once the smell of the Krabby Patty spreads through the town, customers come flooding in. Meanwhile, the villain Plankton is watching the restaurant from afar, laughing his evil laugh as he announces that he's going to carry out plan number 3100, his new plan to steal the secret Krabby Patty formula. Plankton goes into his lab and meets his robot wife Karen, who mocks him and says there's no room left for another failure photo on the wall. He ignores her sarcasm and explains that Mr. Krabs always ruins his plans. But Karen interrupts and tells him that it's actually SpongeBob who foils his schemes every single time, not Mr. Krabs. Plankton refuses to believe it and declares that today he has a new, brilliant plan. Back at the Krusty Krab, SpongeBob is busy flipping patties and creating multiple clones of himself to serve all the customers. Suddenly, his squirrel friend Sandy shows up. He quickly gathers all his clones and greets her. She tells him she wants to speak with Mr. Krabs. Sandy enters the office and presents a robot named Otto, explaining that he can manage the restaurant for free. Mr. Krabs is thrilled. He won't have to pay him. He agrees to keep Otto. After a while, Sandy says goodbye and leaves. Otto then surprises Mr. Krabs by declaring his love for money, sits in Mr. Krabs' chair, and threatens to call the police if he doesn't leave. Mr. Krabs is shocked by Otto's behavior and throws him in the trash. Later, Plankton and Karen find Otto discarded in a trash can, and Karen decides to adopt him. That night, Mr. Krabs closes the restaurant and asks SpongeBob to clean the place before leaving. He gives him a piece of Krabby Patty and asks him to save it to sell the next day. SpongeBob agrees and starts cleaning the kitchen. He covers the patty and places it aside. Plankton, who's been hiding inside a jar of pickles, emerges and uses a gadget to lift the lid off the patty. He takes a sample, analyzes it, and discovers a slip of paper inside containing the secret recipe. He laughs maniacally, thinking he can now take over Bikini Bottom. Just then, SpongeBob comes back into the kitchen. He had forgotten his keys. Plankton panics and tries to escape. While SpongeBob is searching for his keys, he accidentally causes Plankton to fall into the fry cutter along with the paper, which both get sliced and fried. SpongeBob, unaware of what just happened, finds his keys in his pocket and leaves. Plankton finally realizes that it's always SpongeBob who ruins his plans, not Mr. Krabs. Then we shift to the lost empire of Atlantis, where we see the royal palace of King Poseidon. His royal advisor enters with important papers for him to sign, but the king is completely uninterested in political matters. He only cares about his appearance and the smoothness of his skin. When he notices some wrinkles on his face, he screams in horror. The advisor tries to calm him down and presents a tiny snail. The king is amazed and claims the snail is better than all the beauty products he owns. But soon he realizes the snail no longer produces the slime that keeps his skin flawless. So he demands a new snail. The advisor throws the old snail away. Along with other used snails we see imprisoned and treated like slaves. The advisor tells the king that their kingdom has run out of snails, which makes the king furious. Suddenly he has an idea. He announces a grand reward for anyone who brings him a snail. Shortly afterward, we see the advisor putting up the announcement in Bikini Bottom. When Plankton sees it, he gets a wild idea. When Plankton sees Gary, a crazy idea pops into his head: to steal him and offer him to the king. He thinks that by doing so, SpongeBob will be too busy searching for Gary to go to work at the Krusty Krab, and this will help Plankton successfully carry out his evil plan. The next day, SpongeBob finishes his shift and returns home. There, he starts looking for Gary everywhere, but he can't find him. He becomes terrified and realizes that Gary must have been kidnapped. He begins putting up posters all over the city. When he gets home, he stares at an old photo of them together and starts crying. He remembers a moment from when he was just a kid, alone at summer camp, hungry and lonely, and how Gary came to him with food. From that moment on, he loved Gary and decided to keep him forever. Back in the present, Patrick comes to visit SpongeBob after seeing the missing posters. He tells SpongeBob he knows Gary is missing. SpongeBob breaks down in tears, saying he's terrified for Gary. Suddenly, Patrick finds a poster inside Gary's box, a royal decree. When SpongeBob reads it, he realizes Gary was taken to the lost city of Atlantic City by King Poseidon, who wants to use him as a beauty product. As SpongeBob reads more about the Lost Empire, he finds out that it's ruled by King Poseidon, a cruel and selfish king. Despite how terrifying the situation is, SpongeBob insists on going there to rescue Gary. But then fear takes over, and he admits he doesn't have the courage to face the king. Patrick encourages him, telling him he's his best friend and that he'll go with him no matter what. SpongeBob smiles and the two head out together without a clear plan. Suddenly, a boat appears with the robot Otto, who's with Plankton. They offer to give them the boat, saying Otto can take them wherever they need to go. Excited, SpongeBob and Patrick jump in. Meanwhile, Plankton secretly tells Otto to take them to Atlantic City. The boat speeds off at high velocity. During the journey, Patrick talks to SpongeBob about their friendship. He tells him that even best friends can fight sometimes, but what matters is making up quickly. They argue about that and end up fighting, until Otto suddenly crashes the boat and throws them off. They apologize to each other, hug, and get back on board. Meanwhile, at the Krusty Krab, the restaurant is swamped with customers. Mr. Krabs sees that SpongeBob didn't show up for the first time ever. He tells Squidward to make the Krabby Patties, but when Squidward tries to use the grill, it breaks and flies off. The customers get angry and beat up Mr. Krabs. Back to the desert, SpongeBob and Patrick wake up on the boat. They're surprised to find they're breathing air and realize they're in a shared dream. They're thrilled by the experience. Soon, they arrive at a strange town called the Valley of Despair. The boat stops in front of a mysterious place called the Inferno Saloon. As they step off, Otto says goodbye and jumps away. Suddenly, a desert plant smacks them, and a man steps out of it, introducing himself as the Sage. He welcomes them to the city and explains that their shared dream has a purpose. He tells SpongeBob that if he accepts the challenge, he will help him find Gary. The Sage gives them a magical coin, saying it will give them courage when they need it most, and tells them to enter the saloon. Inside, the place seems empty, but suddenly terrifying. Ghost-like figures appear. SpongeBob and Patrick are scared to death, until the Sage returns and explains that these aren't real people, but lost souls trapped in the saloon. He tells them the only way to free these souls is to defeat the ghost leader known as Diablo, who is on his way right now. The Sage vanishes, and Diablo enters, sending fear through everyone. SpongeBob and Patrick are locked in a cage and taken to Diablo's office. Diablo asks how they got into his saloon and shoots lasers from his eyes to intimidate them. The two escape from the cage and run in panic, heading toward the window. SpongeBob tries to use the courage coin to scare Diablo, but Diablo just mocks him. By accident, they pull open the curtains and sunlight floods in, burning Diablo. Without even realizing it, they keep playing with the curtains, and the sunlight continues burning him until he's completely destroyed. They return to the saloon, where the freed souls thank them for breaking Diablo's curse. But then, Diablo transforms into a monstrous form and starts chasing them again. They flee and jump into the boat with Otto, who speeds off just in time to escape. SpongeBob and Patrick suddenly wake up from the dream. The Sage appears again, saying he'll help them. He opens a magical window through which they can see Gary. Their hearts break when they see King Poseidon treating Gary with cruelty. They scream and call out to him, but their cries go unheard. After that, we move to the Krusty Krab restaurant, where Plankton arrives and starts mocking Mr. Krabs because the restaurant has gone bankrupt. He demands that Mr. Krabs hand over the secret Krabby Patty formula. Surprisingly, Mr. Krabs opens the safe hidden in his belt and gives Plankton the secret recipe, but tells him that the formula is useless without SpongeBob. He looks very sad, leaves the room, and heads into his office. Plankton gets frustrated and walks away, upset. Meanwhile, SpongeBob and Patrick arrive at the lost empire of Atlantis. Before they begin their mission, the wise sage warns them that everything in the empire is designed to distract them from their true goal. SpongeBob reassures the sage and thanks him. Then he and Patrick jump out of the boat and enter the Empire. Once inside, they are amazed by everything they see and start trying out everything around them. They head to the amusement park, play games, surf the waves, celebrate, and dance. After a while, the sage reappears and reminds them of his warning. He scolds them for getting distracted and tells them they came here to rescue Gary. Then he leaves. At that moment, SpongeBob and Patrick find themselves in front of King Poseidon's palace. They enter and begin searching for Gary. By chance, they walk into the royal theater and discover that King Poseidon is there. They are asked to perform for him, so they start singing. The moment Gary sees SpongeBob, he jumps from place to place until he reaches them. SpongeBob asks the king to return his pet snail, Gary, but King Poseidon refuses. SpongeBob tries to take Gary by force, but he fails. The king then orders his guards to arrest them and throw them in jail. We then shift to Sandy, who's flying in a jet boat until she arrives at SpongeBob's house. Upon entering, she's surprised to find him missing and realizes something is wrong. She goes to the Krusty Krab and asks Squidward about SpongeBob's whereabouts. She notices that Mr. Krabs is very sad because he doesn't know where SpongeBob is, and Squidward clearly misses him too. Suddenly, a breaking news report appears on TV announcing that the sponge and the starfish have been arrested for trying to steal the king's snail and will be executed during a ceremony at the royal palace. Sandy and Mr. Krabs immediately decide to go save them. Plankton tells them he'll join, and Squidward comes along as well, but only to see the famous musician performing at the event. The four of them hop on the flying boat and speed off at full throttle. Back in prison, SpongeBob and Patrick are locked up together in the same cell. SpongeBob is deeply saddened that he failed to save Gary. Patrick tries to comfort and encourage him. Suddenly, SpongeBob remembers the courage coin and asks Patrick for it, only to discover it's not with him. SpongeBob realizes Patrick must have used it while playing in the amusement park and begins blaming him for everything that happened. Patrick gets upset and they start arguing, blaming each other. Patrick then locks himself in another cell. At that moment, the wise sage reappears and tells them that the coin was just a symbol and that real courage lies within them. He gives them hope and disappears. Suddenly, the king's advisor enters with guards and tells SpongeBob and Patrick to prepare for execution. We return to Sandy and the group, where Plankton confesses that he was the one who kidnapped Gary and caused all this trouble, but now he regrets everything. Soon, they all arrive at the lost empire of Atlantis and speed toward the palace at full speed. Inside the palace, the ceremony begins. King Poseidon and all the guests are excited. The royal advisor steps out from behind the curtain with SpongeBob and Patrick. Meanwhile, Sandy and her team sneak into the crowd unnoticed. Squidward is overjoyed when he sees the famous musician, while SpongeBob apologizes to Patrick for dragging him into all this trouble. The trial begins, and the advisor questions how they dared to try and steal the king's snail. Suddenly, the lights go out, and the advisor and his guards are tied up and taken away. Sandy appears in their place and declares that they must defend SpongeBob. She explains that doing so would make the performance even better. King Poseidon agrees. Sandy then begins telling everyone about her memories with SpongeBob. She recalls how they met at summer camp when they were young. She told him she was from the surface and had invented her helmet so she could live underwater. SpongeBob was amazed and told her she would be a great inventor someday. He encouraged her, and from that moment, they became close friends. She explains that SpongeBob is not a criminal, but rather the best person in Bikini Bottom. Her story touches everyone present. Patrick then steps in and says that while SpongeBob may have broken the law, it was only because he refused to give up on his friend. Then it's Squidward's turn. He tells everyone that he doesn't really like SpongeBob. Even though he's annoying, he's also very kind. He begins to recall memories from the past, telling them that he too met SpongeBob at summer camp. During the talent show there, Squidward believed he was very talented at playing music and was confident that he would win. We see all the contestants showcasing their talents in front of the judges. When it's SpongeBob and Patrick's turn, everyone cheers because of how amazing their performance is. After that, Squidward goes up on stage and starts to play, but unfortunately his music was terrible, which upsets the audience. When his performance ends, the host, Madame Puff, announces the results, revealing that SpongeBob and Patrick won the prize. Everyone cheers for them, except Squidward, who feels sad and starts to cry, saying that it's unfair. But SpongeBob and Patrick go after him and try to cheer him up. They tell him that the judges made a mistake while counting the votes, and that he's the real winner. They hand him the prize, which makes him very happy, and he thanks them. From that moment, the three of them became close friends. Next, it's Mr. Krabs' turn. He tells everyone that SpongeBob changed his life too. He recalls his early days as a small-time burger seller. He says that SpongeBob was the one who encouraged and inspired him to open a big restaurant because his burgers were so tasty. He adds that he used to think the secret formula was the reason for the restaurant's success, but later realized that SpongeBob was the real reason behind it all because he's special and loved by all his friends. SpongeBob feels very happy hearing such kind words from his friends and realizing how much they love him. Suddenly, music starts playing, and Plankton comes up on stage and starts singing. He is soon joined by Mr. Krabs, Sandy, Squidward, and Patrick. Together, they sing about how sweet and special SpongeBob is and how everyone around him loves him. SpongeBob joins them on stage, dancing with them, and their performance amazes the crowd. As they dance their way to the king, they cleverly manage to take Gary back without the king noticing and then run away. Once the king realizes Gary is missing, he orders the guards to arrest them. SpongeBob and his friends start running, trying to escape. They enter a room and lock the door so the guards can't reach them. Inside, they find an old knight's armor and begin controlling it together, each of them managing a different part. Using it, they fight off the guards and manage to escape. They rush down the stairs and out of the castle. Luckily, Otto arrives in the boat and they run toward him to get on board. But sadly, Otto leaves without them. The guards appear again, surrounding SpongeBob and his friends from every side. They freeze, unable to escape. At that moment, King Poseidon arrives and he looks furious. But to everyone's surprise, he says he loved their performance and that it made him happier than ever before. He tells them that he forgives everything they did, but only on one condition. They must leave Gary with him. SpongeBob steps forward bravely and refuses. He tells the king how much he loves Gary, how he's his best friend, and how he became more courageous because of him, especially after everything they did to rescue him. The king gets angry and throws his trident at SpongeBob, trying to destroy him. But SpongeBob tells him that no matter what he does, he will never have friends like his. The king gets upset and says that he has many friends. He then asks his advisor to show him the list of his friends. But, to his shock, the stats show that he has no friends at all, not even his guards, his doctor, or his advisor, who is supposed to be the closest to him. King Poseidon is heartbroken and begins to cry because he realizes he doesn't have a single friend. But SpongeBob approaches him kindly and tells him that he could be his friend. He explains that it doesn't matter how someone looks on the outside, because true friends don't leave each other over small flaws. What truly matters is the goodness inside and being a fair king to all sea creatures. The king is deeply touched by SpongeBob's words. He reveals his true appearance and thanks SpongeBob, telling him he won't take Gary anymore. He even sets free all the snails he had previously captured. Gary then asks SpongeBob if they can take a few of those snails home, and indeed, they return home together. We see that the snails became friends with Gary, and now everyone in Bikini Bottom has their own snail. Life returns to normal, and in the end, SpongeBob finally learns what true courage means after understanding the real value of friendship.